our country is headed in the wrong direction. I think we're in trouble. From our debt to the formation of jobs. But the most important, unsettling thing that causes me to run is that I think Washington, D.C. has become the capital of corruption. I think it's bought and sold. Now listen to me. Everybody's running for a reason, and they all are fancy and good and decent. But they're all taking the big money. They take PAC money. They take corporate checks. They take super PAC money, and it's not right. America needs a president free to lead. And the first major way to find a president who's free is see where they get their money. I'm $100 limit, no corporate money, no PAC money, no super PAC money, full disclosure, free to lead. By the way, that's why I ran for governor. That's the way I ran and was elected 4 times as congressman in Louisiana. And I happen to be the only person running who's been both governor and congressman. Free to lead. That's my campaign.
So a couple of quick, thank you for that. A couple of quick introductory questions. You have 2 degrees from Harvard. You were successful.
What? Don't even bring that up, man.
Well, you're close to Massachusetts.
Yeah,
so
it's okay here, but not in the rest of the country.
You were successful in the tech industry. You've been successful in banking. You were a congressman, a political strategist, and a governor.
Right.
Why run for president now?
Well, the country's in trouble. I think the country's headed in the wrong direction. I mean, talk to a high school senior and ask what the job prospects are. Talk to a senior in college and see how many job offers they have. Talk to a small business person and think and ask them this question. Do you get the same treatment in Washington as GE or Goldman Sachs? I thought America was a place where everybody was treated as valuable. I thought America was a place where there was a level playing field and there were no special favors for the big checks. Washington, D.C. is corrupt. America's headed in the wrong direction, and all of these people running for president are exactly the same. Oh, now, listen to me. They have differences in their tax structure. They have differences in how they would balance the budget, but they all take the big checks. Here's what they tell me when they whisper to me. Well, buddy, I can't win unless I take the big check. Well, why don't you say that, Newt Gingrich? Why don't you say that, Mitt Romney? Why don't you tell the American people the truth? I can't win unless I take the special interest money. Well, I got news for you. I don't want to win if I have to take the special interest money. I love this country, and I want a president free to lead. I want a man or a woman to lead us from the center and rebuild this country. You can't do it if you owe your soul to Goldman Sachs and General Electric.
Thank you. We have 2 quick follow-ups before we get to our viewer questions. One is in the 78 congressional race and in the 82 gubernatorial race, you ran in crowded primary fields. What is with you in crowded primaries? Do you like to jump into races that have a lot of contenders? And do you actually think, in seriousness, do you think that having been in crowded primaries before is an advantage as you're running this thing?
It could be, but I'm always different. It's not about the size of the field. Now, I've never lost a race head up. If I get Barack Obama head up, we'll debate across the country. It'll be done with class. But we will ask him where he gets his money. We'll ask him, why did he sign bank reform and go to Wall Street, hosted by Goldman Sachs at $35,800 a ticket? Oh, we'll ask these questions. He won't want to answer them. He's bought and sold. He won't want to answer them. But every race is different. A crowded primary field has a little, it's difficult to parse through. But I decided not to worry about the politics. I decided to worry about the country. And that if I could make my case to the American people, I would be all right, and the country would be all right. The biggest disappointment in this race is not making one of the debates. You know, in the 21st century, these nationally televised debates are very important. I'm the only candidate that hasn't been asked to a single debate. I'm the only candidate who's been a congressman and a governor. I'm the only candidate who built $1 billion bank with no bailout money. I'm the only candidate who's created tens of thousands of new jobs. And I'm the only one that hasn't been asked to debate. Why is that? Could it be it's because I talk about the money? Could it be it's because I ask a simple question? Do you think Washington, D.C. is corrupt? Do you think it's fair for GE to make $15 billion and pay no taxes, while the average couple pays $25,000 in taxes on a $60,000 income? It's not right, and somebody needs to ask the question, and then the two parties need to answer it.
Thank you, sir. Final follow-up is, as a congressman, you were a frequent ally of President Reagan's.
Yes.
You switched parties in
91.
You talked about being a centrist. You talked about being a centrist candidate. Was President Reagan one of the impetuses for you to switch parties? And was it his coalition building amongst the two parties part of your inspiration for running this time?
Absolutely. I mean, experience counts. What has my experience been? I was elected 4 times to the United States Congress. I lost the first time I ran, then 2 years later I won. And then I won again. Then I won again. Then I won again. And I was the only member of Congress that didn't take PAC contribution. I was free. And I told the Speaker, the Democratic Party head, Tip O'Neill, that I felt free to represent my district, and that if the Democrats were right, I'd vote with them. But if the Republicans were right, I would vote with them. I ended up voting 75% of the time with the Republicans. Reagan was right on target. Jobs creator, lower marginal taxes, a more simple tax code, a more fair tax code, a strong military, breaking the back of the Soviet Union. I am darn proud of the fact that I was there. I was head of a group called the Boll Weevils. These were conservative Democrats, 43 of us, and we gave Reagan the majority. I learned a lot from President Reagan. He told me I needed to do 2 things to be president. He asked me one day in the Oval Office. He said, buddy, I was 37. He said, you think you'll run for president someday? Just me and him sitting there. And I said, well, I might, Mr. President. What advice do you have? He said 2 things. Become governor of your state. That's the way you handle the National Guard, you balance the budget, tax code, you lead a great state. That's the first step to being president. He said, I'll never vote for a person for president who hadn't been governor. Pretty good test. I said, what's the second thing, Mr. Reagan, Mr. President? He said, buddy, you're in the wrong darn party. You ought to be a Republican. So I learned a lot from President Reagan, and what I learned most of all, he was not a party-only person. He put the country first. And when he addressed the Congress, I felt like he was talking to me, a member of the other party. And he would always say, join me, buddy. Let's build a great America. And we did.
Thank you. The first question from our viewers at home is from Jack in Waco, Texas. He writes, most of your GOP contemporaries have been critical of the Occupy Wall Street movement. You said last week, and correct me if I'm misquoting you,
Okay.
Mayor Bloomberg was standing on the wrong side of history.
Right.
Our young people ought not to be thrown in jail. They should be listened to. Shame on you, Mayor Bloomberg. When it appears that the movement is gaining momentum, when do you think your contemporaries in the GOP will start to listen?
When it's too late for them. That's what established politicians do. They're afraid. They're afraid of Occupy Wall Street. I mean, Herman Cain said they were unpatriotic and un-American. Ridiculous. I mean, do we have any understanding of what built America? It was young people. I mean, I remember growing up in the Deep South when African Americans were treated like second-class citizens. And preachers and teachers and young people marched in the streets, and the establishment laughed at them. I remember, guys, ladies, I grew up in the South. I was on a small farm, and my daddy had a cross burnt in his yard. He was a Methodist man. He believed in America, and he thought every citizen was valued. Wow. And they burned a cross in his yard. The young people were right, and the establishment didn't listen to them. Then go 20 years later, I'm a student in college, and the students, many of them march against the Vietnam War. And the establishment said, oh, don't listen to those hoodlums. I mean, Richard Nixon, President of the United States, lied to the American people and chastised the young people for marching in the streets. But the young people brought the war to a close. 59,000 men killed. And they stopped it. I can remember. And when I saw Occupy Wall Street, here's what I saw. Disheveled,